Hi there. Let's continue our Through the Bible in 1 Year. We are on Leviticus 24 and 25 today. Getting towards the end of Leviticus. And it's been interesting. We're going to talk about Jubilee today, which I'm kind of looking forward to. So let's get to it. There we are. Ta-da. Let's make myself a little smaller here so we can read more. Okay. Taking care of the lamps. The Lord said to Moses to give the following orders to the people of Israel. Burn pure olive oil of the finest quality for the lamps in the tent, so that a light might be kept burning regularly. Each evening Aaron shall light them and keep them burning until morning, there in the Lord's presence outside the curtain in front of the covenant box, which is in the most holy place. This regulation is to be observed for all time to come. Aaron shall take care of the lamps on the lampstand of pure gold and must see that they burn regularly in the Lord's presence. Okay. The bread offering to God. Take 24 pounds of flour and bake 12 loaves of bread. That's 2-pound loaves. Put the loaves in 2 rows, 6 in each row, on the table covered with pure gold, which is in the Lord's presence. Put some of the pure essence on each row as a token food offering for the Lord to take the place of the bread. Every Sabbath, for all time to come, the bread must be placed in the presence of the Lord. So they had to bake 12 loaves of bread a week. This is Israel's duty forever. The bread belongs to Aaron and his descendants, and they shall eat it in a holy place, because it is a very holy part of the food offering to the Lord for the priests. An example of just and fair punishment. There was a man whose father was an Egyptian and whose mother was an Israelite named Shelomith, the daughter of Debri from the tribe of Dan. There in the camp, this man quarreled with an Israelite. During the quarrel, he cursed the Lord, so they took him to Moses, put him under guard, and waited for the Lord to tell him what to do with him. The Lord said to Moses, "Take the man out of the camp. Everyone who heard him curse shall put his hands on the man's head to testify that he is guilty, and then the whole community shall stone him to death." Wow. Then tell the people of Israel that anyone who curses God must suffer the consequences and be put to death. Any Israelite or foreigner living in Israel who curses the Lord shall be stoned to death by the whole community. Wow. What do you mean business, huh? Any who commit murder shall be put to death. Any who kill an animal belonging to someone else must replace it. The principle is life for life. If any of you injure another person, whatever you have done shall be done to you. If you break a bone, one of your bones shall be broken. If you put out an eye, one of your eyes shall be put out. If you knock out a tooth, one of your teeth shall be knocked out. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Whatever injury you cause another person shall be done to you in return. Man, what if they still did this today? Huh? Whoever kills an animal shall replace it, but whoever kills a human being shall be put to death. This law applies to all of you, to Israelites and to foreigners living among you, because I am the Lord your God. When Moses had said this to the people of Israel, they took the man outside the camp and stoned him to death. In this way, the people of Israel did what the Lord had commanded Moses. Wow. Tough, huh? People do this today all the time without any consequences. The 7th year. The Lord spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai and commanded him to give the following regulations to the people of Israel. When you enter the land that the Lord is giving you, you shall honor the Lord by not cultivating the land every 7th year. You shall plant your fields, prune your vineyards, and gather your crops for 6 years. But the 7th year is to be a year of complete rest for the land, a year dedicated to the Lord. Do not plant your fields or prune your vineyards. Do not even harvest the grain that grows by itself without being planted. And do not gather the grapes from your unpruned vines. It is a year of complete rest for the land. Although the land has not been cultivated during that year, it will provide food for you, your slaves, your hired men, the foreigners living with you, your domestic animals, and the wild animals in your fields. Everything that it produces may be eaten. Now, wait a minute. It said, "I do not plant your fields, and do not even harvest the grain. Do not even harvest the grain that grows by itself without being planted. Do not gather the grapes of your unpruned vines. Is your complete rest. And then it says, although the land has been cultivated, it will provide food for you, your slaves, your hired men, your foreigners living with you, your domestic animals, and the wild animals in your field. Everything that it produces may be eaten, but not harvested. That's kind of confusing, huh? Okay. The year of restoration. This is called Jubilee. A lot of people talk about it. Count 7 times 7 years, a total of 49 years. Then, on the 10th day of the 7th month, the Day of Atonement, send someone to blow a trumpet throughout the whole land. In this way, you shall set the 50th year apart and proclaim freedom to all the inhabitants of the land. During this year, all property that has been sold shall be restored to the original owners or the descendants, or any who have been sold as slaves shall return to their families. You shall not plant your fields or harvest the grain that grows by itself or gather the grapes in your unpruned vineyards. The whole year shall be sacred for you. You shall eat only what the fields produce of themselves. Yeah. Now that's when people go, no, wait a minute. It's year 48 and I just bought this land and I got to give it back in 2 years. This explains it right here. In this year, all property that has been sold shall be restored to its original owner. So when you sell land to an Israelite or buy land, do not deal unfairly. The price is to be set according to the number of years the land can produce crops before the next year of restoration. If there are many years, the price shall be higher, but if there are only a few years, the price shall be lower, because of what is being sold is the number of crops the land can produce. Do not cheat an Israelite, but obey the Lord your God. So see, that makes sense, because, if it's year 48 and he needs to sell this land, well, there's only 2 seasons left, so it's worth just a little bit. So, wouldn't that mess up the economy today? If every 50 years you had to give something back to its original owner. So, as time goes on, the land would be worth absolutely nothing to you. The problem of the 7th year. Obey all the Lord's commands, so that you may live safely in the land. The land will produce its crops, and you will have all you want to eat, and will live in safety. But someone may ask, what will there be to eat during the 7th year, when no fields are planted and no crops gathered? The Lord will bless the land in the 6th year, so that it will produce enough food for 2 years. There you go. When you plant your fields in the 8th year, you will still be eating what you harvested during the 6th year, and you will have enough to eat until the crops you plant that year are harvested. Get that? Restoration of property. Your land must not be sold on a permanent basis because you do not own it. It belongs to God, and you are like foreigners who are allowed to make use of it. When land is sold, the right of the original owner to buy it back must be recognized. If any of you Israelites become poor and are forced to sell your land, your closest relative is to buy it back. If you have no relative to buy it back, you may later become prosperous and have enough money to buy it back yourself. In that case, you must pay to the one who bought it a sum that will make up for the years remaining until the next year of restoration, when you would in any event recover your land. But if you do not have enough money to buy the land back, it remains under the control of the one who bought it until the next year of restoration. In that year, it will be returned to its original owner. If you sell a house in a walled city, you have the right to buy it back during the first full year from the date of the sale. But if you do not buy it back within the year, you lose the right to repurchase, and the house becomes a permanent property of the purchasers and their descendants. It will not be returned in the year of restoration. A house in a walled city. But houses in unwalled villages are to be treated like the fields. The original owner has the right to buy them back, and they are to be returned in the year of restoration. However, Levites have the right to buy back at any time their property in the cities assigned to them. If a house in one of these cities is sold by a Levite and is not bought back, it must be returned in the year of restoration, because the houses which the Levites own in their cities are their permanent property among the people of Israel. But the pasture land around the Levite cities shall never be sold. It is their property forever. Yeah. Loans to the poor. If any Israelites living near you become poor and cannot support themselves, you must provide for them as you would for a hired worker, so that they can continue to live near you. Do not charge Israelites any interest, but obey God and let them live near you. Do not make them pay interest on the money you lend them, and do not make a profit on the food you sell them. This is the command of the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt in order to give you the land of Canaan and to be your God. See that? Don't charge interest. Okay? Don't make a profit on food. Release of slaves. If any Israelites living near you become so poor that they shall sell themselves to you as a slave, you shall not make them do the work of a slave. They shall stay with you as hired workers and serve you until the next year of restoration. At that time they and their children shall leave you and return to their family and to the property of their ancestors. The people of Israel are the Lord's slaves, and he brought them out of Egypt. They must not be sold into slavery. Do not treat them harshly, but obey your God. If you need slaves, you may buy them from the nations around you. You may also buy the children of the foreigners who are living among you. Such children born in your land may become your property. Wow. And you may leave them as an inheritance to your children, whom they must serve as long as they live. But you must not treat any Israelites harshly. Man. Suppose a foreigner living with you becomes rich, while some Israelites become poor and sell themselves as slaves to that foreigner or to a member of that foreigner's family. After they are sold, they still have the right to be bought back. A brother or an uncle or a cousin or another close relative may buy them back, or if they themselves earn enough, they may buy their own freedom. They must consult the one who bought them, and they must count the years from the time they sold themselves until the next year of restoration, and must set the price for their release on the basis of the wages paid hired workers. They must refund a part of the purchase price according to the number of years left, as if they had been hired on an annual basis. Their master must not treat them harshly. If they are not set free in any of these ways, they and their children must be set free in the next year of restoration. Israelites cannot be permanent slaves, because the people of Israel are the Lord's slaves. He brought them out of Egypt. He is the Lord their God. So, there you go. So every 50 years, stuff kind of went haywire here, huh? I don't know how that would work today, but that's very interesting. So, that's Jubilee and stuff. I believe there's only one day left. This will be the final, blessing for obedience, punishment of disobedience, laws concerning the gifts to the Lord. So, there you go. That's through the Bible in 1 year for today. This is day 52. And we'll finish Leviticus tomorrow. That'll be cool. So, get back up there. There you go. No, catch up on any you may have missed. They're all down in the playlist. Give us a like if you think about it. Until tomorrow, keep reading.